And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I am here with a friend of mine who I met through coaching baseball when I was coaching at Capitol High School with one of his former assistants. He was the head coach there, gave me my first coaching job. This is Brad Dalton. He is a PE teacher at Boise High School and a motivational coach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Amongst many other names, I'm sure we can pull from. Crack smoker, booger eater.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is last time I had you on, because this isn't the first time you've been there. This is the first time we get to sit together and talk, which I think is awesome. Being able to look face to face and talk to someone. You had written a book, and we talked about your book before, and then you've been still kind of just doing the same thing, right? So, kind of tell us what you're doing besides teaching.
Yeah. Well, I'm a mental performance coach, so I've clients everywhere from 11-year-olds to reps from in the NFL to everything in between, non-athletes, leaders, executives, you name it. I've done a TEDx talk since the last time we did.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
As you mentioned, best-selling author, and I keynote. So I keynoted everywhere from the Dominican Republic to Eagle, Idaho last year. So a lot of things going, all exciting, all self-inflicted. Jacked about all of them.
How did you get into that? Because when I first met you, you were the head baseball coach at Boise High School. We went to a coaching clinic in Portland, which I still remember. It was a good time with Tony Brulotte, who gave me my first coaching job. And I don't coach anymore either. But you coached for a few more years after that, and then you just kind of stopped coaching. Why did you stop coaching, and were you trying to find something to further that?
Yeah, well, a little bit of all the above. My oldest, I still loved coaching. In fact, I still miss it. I get jonesing for it here and there. But my oldest was just getting older. He was in 8th grade, and I'd heard for years from parents. I mean, if I had a penny for every time a parent said, man, it goes so fast, and soak it up, and all these things. And here my kid was in 8th grade, and his love was baseball, and I'd missed 50% of his games his entire life.
Right.
And that just ate at me. I felt so guilty every year, but I just loved coaching so much that I just didn't give it up. But once he started getting to the point where he could play freshman baseball, I knew he was going to be gone fast. And I don't want to miss that anymore. And so I made the tough decision that it was a July, and it was tough. I remember crying on my wife's shoulder. It sucked, but I wouldn't take back a minute. That, and I have a younger kiddo on the autism spectrum,
Right.
And he just has always done better when I'm present. And when you're a head coach, if you're going to do it right, you're not as present as you really need to be.
Right.
You could say that you're a family man, but if you go back and you audit your calendar and your schedule and your thoughts and all your conversations, are you though? Are you really the family man you're preaching? You're saying you are, because you're gone. Even when you're present,
dedicated to raising other kids. Really, is what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I ran 21 weeks of camps every year, which is a lot more than the average coach. But I felt like I had to, in the stops that I was at, for us to have a chance to be not just be good but great.
Yeah.
To do the things you want to do in season, you need to bust your butt in the off season.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think that a lot of times, people don't understand that it's really I love Michael Jordan, because you always hear him talk about what it takes to get there, and he practiced harder than he played.
Yep.
Because when he played, it made it so much easier to practice that hard. So you got to put in all that work beforehand.
100%. You hear stories about that, with Kobe Bryant as well. I'm sure you've heard the same story. There was a story about when they were at the Olympics. You're loaded with all these guys that are dudes.
Yep.
The best in the world. And I can't remember what country it was. Anyway, it was in Europe somewhere. Anyway, all the team decides they're going to wake up the next morning early.
Yep.
And they're going to go get an early workout in. And they all get up. They do what they say they're going to do. They're all coming down the elevator. The elevator doors open up, and Kobe Bryant is waiting to get in the elevator.
Yep.
He's already been up for 2 hours. He's drenched in sweat getting work in. Yeah, I love but that's how you, as you know, that's how you win.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about that is that people don't get that, because he was I can guarantee you, if you think about it, you're Kobe Bryant, right? Who's the guy that you're trying to be? And we talked about Michael Jordan already. So what does he got to do to be better than Michael? He's got to outwork him.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
So what I noticed about a lot of the things that you said, and I know that I've commented, you post on, it's kind of the same thing. We all kind of do the same thing. We post, you have a podcast called, is it Best Self You?
Best Self Podcast.
Best Self Podcast, right? Okay. So you have your Best Self Podcast, and you post a lot of like stuff that you're talking about. I feel like you're walking on the green belt or something, and you just throw out this motivational thing. And like, I'm sitting there, the things that when I hear that, like, number one, it's something that I live by, but it also kind of just gets you jacked up, right? Yeah. And the hard part with that is the action thing. Like, I had another guy in here the other day that I was interviewing. He's like, yeah, you can be motivated all you want, but you got to do the work. Yeah. So how do you take that motivation that you're doing and then just kind of channel that and give that to someone else? How do you make it so that they put it into action, and what are those steps? Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a big conversation. I mean, you got to know your target audience.
Right.
But one and two, you got to live it. You can't just talk it. You got to have your actions match your words. And three, you got to make a message that's going to connect and relate with people. And most of the stuff I talk about is what 90% of the world is. I mean, if you're looking to be fantastic in life, 100% of you is trying to be. And so people who really get it are really into it. And then there's the people who don't totally get it, but it still connects with because they want to be that. Right. They think that they have to search for it, but you don't have to search for it. You've already got it running in your DNA. It's already there. We've gotten so used to believing this story. We get really good at believing the story that we've told ourselves. Like, a lot of the people I work with want to be more confident. And confidence is an action. Yeah. Confidence isn't a feeling. Right. Motivation is cool, but people that are motivational, they're waiting for motivation. Those are the same people, the people that are looking to be just straight up motivated. They're kind of like, to me, they're kind of like goal conscious thinkers. Like a goal conscious thinker is gearing up to win one time. Yep. Whereas a growth conscious thinker is looking to win repeatedly. Yeah. And your guest you had on is totally right. Like, action comes before motivation. You don't just get motivated. You take action and then you become motivated. Right. You get out of bed after the alarm goes off, and then you become motivated. You brush you floss one tooth, and you'll probably become a little more motivated to floss all your teeth. Right. It's like, I don't want to get up and run. Anyway, I'm getting a little carried away.
No, you're right. But like, that's the thing, like the running thing, the situation with that too is like, I've been through that as well. Like, you need to get up, you need to exercise, you need to do those things. You get up and the first thing you think is, not today. I'm not going to do it, because now I got to find my socks. I got to find my shoes. I got to find all the stuff to get it done. And then I've talked to multiple people who are like, just put your stuff by your bed. Yeah. Put it somewhere where when you walk out that door, you have no choice but to look at it and tell it no. Yeah. And then go out there and do it. Right. Yeah. Man, talk about, that's a whole nother topic. You're winning by design there. Yeah. You're winning with intention. Like, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to win my morning, I'm going to start winning the night before. Yeah. I don't win the morning of. Like, the worst time to think about anything you're going to do is in the moment you're doing it. Because if you do that, you're giving yourself wiggle room to get out. Right. But like me, I set up my towel, same spot, all the night before. I don't set them out the morning of. Yeah. What's funny is I remember having a conversation with Jake Taylor about you a little bit, and he said that you were the guy that had charts on charts on charts. Yeah. So you've always been a planner, right? Yeah. And where did that come from? What made you want to be like, was there something when you were younger that was like, hey, I don't want to be that way? Or did it just like come naturally to you? Well, I've had a lot of that too. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I always tell people, like I have high standards. When I was younger, all the people that ever coached with me, they always said they loved coaching with me, but I don't know how they could stand me. Yeah. Because my standards were so high, and I don't think I always handled losing. I hated losing. I didn't handle it well. I didn't really see the process back then. Yeah. Like I do today. But with
And with the preparation, I really feel like most people in life that are overwhelmed are underprepared.
Right.
And I always, as a coach, I wanted my players to feel like I'm going to give them their best shot at winning today.
Mm-hmm.
The best team doesn't always win, as you know. The best team that day wins.
Right.
And it's the same thing in interviews. The best person doesn't always get the job.
Right.
It's the person that interviewed best that day
Yep.
potentially gets that job. And you just got to it doesn't, being super prepared doesn't guarantee you anything, but it does
Right.
guarantee your best shot
Yep.
at the things that you say you want. So, in baseball, big percentages guy, I'm going to play the percentages, and I'm going to get as much intel as I can on everything that I have a chance to get intel on. And based off that intel, if for baseball speak, for any of your listeners, I mean, the most important pitch in an at-bat is the first pitch,
Mm-hmm.
strike one.
Yep.
The odds increase of a hitter getting a base hit, significantly in a 1-0 count versus an 0-1 count.
Mm-hmm.
In an 0-1 count, a pitcher can do a lot of different things to you. And we can still do the same thing in 1-0. But in the hitter's eyes, things become a lot less predictable.
Right.
And so, yeah, I always wanted to be unpredictable. I also wanted to put our players in a predictable situation, and I always wanted to have the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to have a competitive edge. So, yeah, I guess I was always like that as a coach.
Yeah.
I just wanted a competitive edge. I wanted to give us every shot we had to win,
Mm-hmm.
to put ourselves at least in a position to win. And like I said, stuff sometimes, and just like as it in life,
Yeah.
you could do everything right and still not win.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot control. I mean, you look at like I know we're sitting in a room right now with a bunch of Giants stuff in it because I'm a big Giants fan and I
Yeah.
hate the freaking Dodgers. But you look at the Dodgers and how stacked their
Yeah.
team team is,
Yeah.
and they still lose.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that as well.
Yep.
I'm a fan of anybody playing the Dodgers or Yankees.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably eliminated 50% of your audience.
Yep. Exactly. So, being at Boise High, right? And we talked a little bit about this beforehand. Like Boise High, good baseball team, right? But they didn't have some of the things that some of these other schools around here had. Like, I mean, you look at like these schools, like we talked about Timberline and Rocky, like looking at how these new schools, like Oahe right now is one of the big ones, right?
Sure.
Like they take from Rocky, they take from Valley View or whatever, Valley View School District, and it's almost like they make a super team every time they make a new school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that were difficult about that, and how did you kind of work around that with your team?
Well, the biggest hurdle, I think, for that and life in general is just the 6 inches between our ears.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, convincing your team that they can win, like to think like a champion,
Right.
to think like a winner. If you're going in hoping to win, well, hope's not a plan.
Yep.
Hope's a cool word, and there's a lot worse things in life, but hope isn't a plan. Hoping, like that to me, that's a loser mindset when you step into a competition, when you step into an interview, when you step into a marriage,
Mm-hmm.
when you step into anything, you got to expect to win.
Right.
And so, instilling the mindset of a winner in practice, in the off season, in the unseen moments,
Mm-hmm.
when the lights aren't on, when nobody's clapping, when you're exhausted, when you're tired, when your body's saying you can't go any further, that's when you build the mindset of a winner.
Right.
You don't win those games against those kind of teams that are clearly more stacked than you
Mm-hmm.
the day of the game.
Yeah.
You don't win that day. You win with the preparation you put in leading into that. And I would say that was the biggest challenge there. I mean, there was obviously, we were talking off air.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I coached a team in 20 years that had a program that had a JV and a freshman team that had a winning record,
Uh-huh.
which is pretty nuts,
Yeah.
pretty crazy. And yet I was in my lifetime still in 14 state championship games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of challenges that went into that.
Yeah.
But, man, I was blessed. I got to coach so many great players, phenomenal human beings. I love Boise High.
Mm-hmm.
I loved all my stops, frankly.
Is that where did you go to high school at Boise High?
I did.
Yeah. So you it's basically like go to college, come back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's frankly why I went there. I was winning where I was at before that. We had been to state 4 of my 5 years at my previous stop, and Boise High hadn't even won a loser's bracket game in 5 years. So it was, on paper, not a good move. But Boise High, I mean, I don't want to make this whole thing about Boise, but I loved the stress on academics. I like the diversity there. Everyone thinks that place is loaded with just straight up doctors and lawyers, but we've got almost 200 homeless kids in that school.
Yeah.
We've got everything in the middle too. And I think it's great for us to put our kids in positions where they have to say no, where they have to be exposed to things that aren't perfect, where not everybody looks the same. I think that stuff's important.
Yeah, I think back, to my short teaching career, because I taught for 4 years, 2 years in Middleton, 2 years in Marsing. I started out in Marsing, which when I got that job, it was like, as like a PE teacher, they don't come off open very often. Like you get that job and people usually make a career out of wherever they're at. I mean, you've been there, what'd you say, 25 years?
Yep.
So being at Boise High 25 years, you think about a new physical education teacher coming in who wants to teach there. Like,
it's tough.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. So this was going to be the way. And it was just amazing to me that when I got to the high school, the people I worked with, but I would have way rather gone back to, like, when I decided that I wasn't going to teach anymore, it was more meaningful to me because those kids really, just like you're talking about, they were way more diverse. Like, I mean, we had a work camp across the school. They were a 2A school. There were kids coming from, I don't know, I'm sure there was considered homeless kids, but like there was so much diversity and they really cared about what they were doing. And it just makes it, to me, more meaningful than when, again, and not knocking like Rocky Mountain, but I student taught there. And when I student taught there, it's a completely different air.
Sure.
Right. It's way different. Like,
right.
You can tell that dynamic of kid is like, they don't have to want for a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that there's not hardworking kids there.
Sure.
But it's amazing to me to see that diversity. And I could see that with Boise because it's where it's at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, people are at Boise too. They're also they're proud to be at Boise. You go to an athletic event and you'll know who the Boise fans are because they're all in red.
Yeah.
People that go to Boise are proud to be in the North End. Like North Enders spend more money just to be in the North End.
Right.
I've
seen that in my business. I mean, it's amazing.
It's not square footage.
Yeah, no.
It's just they like being in the North End.
Yeah.
It's a different culture, which is challenging too.
Right.
In some ways, but.
You don't live in the North End, though, right? You live off the other direction.
Yeah.
More towards where your wife works, right?
No, we did at one time. We live in Eagle now.
Oh, you live in Eagle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we live in the Boise School District, but in Eagle city limits.
Yeah. So. Oh. Yeah. That's.
We're right.
Wasn't that far of a drive then, is what I thought it was going to be for you. Out to the boonies.
Right.
Eagle's not that far.
No, I love it out here. This is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there like Avamore and a couple other places that you're just like, man, is this really where it's at? This whole city, the whole thing has blown up and been kind of crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, driving out here, I couldn't believe how much housing there was.
Oh yeah. And it's just going to get worse. Like Middleton, it's funny, when I taught at Middleton High School, the school was just there. There was a subdivision across the street, and now there's one beside it, behind it, around it. Like it's just blowing up.
It's gonna blow up.
Yeah. And then I think they're even playing in like, I don't know, I haven't been paid attention much to the leagues anymore, but there's like 5A, 6A now, and
they're top dog. Yeah.
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 Which is crazy because it doesn't seem that big. It's a bunch of farm boys.
But they're good.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, they're kind of a baseball pipeline over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've coached with a couple of those people over there. But so let's talk about what you're doing now, because you obviously quit coaching. We talked about the book last time you were on, but you're doing more, like you did a TED Talk, like you were talking about. Yeah. You're doing more like motivational coaching and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your not baseball coaching.
Yeah, it's super rewarding. I've always been a 6 inches between the ears junkie. And so when I got out, I mean, when I was coaching, I had a mental packet. I've always been that guy. But once I got out, I didn't want to be out. I still wanted to coach. like people are still my juice.
Right.
And I just love I love relationships. I think relationships are the true power grid in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I wanted to keep doing that. I couldn't get out of it.
Right.
So I just started expanding. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like most entrepreneurs, didn't really know what I was doing on the early going. I've hired people. I think all good coaches also have coaches.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I come to learn. And every day I learn that I don't know as much as I think I know.
I feel like that's a good thing about people too, though. Like, I keep saying this in my head and I'm not saying it out to you, but like, you think about the reality is that people who are training for one thing, once they reach that goal, people who grow are the people who start another goal, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is not the end of the road. What's
Right.
next? And like, I feel like I do that with my sales team. It's like, I'm going out there and I'm trying to do this much a year. And once I hit that, doesn't mean that I'm done. It means that I got to go more. I got to
Right.
change the goal, or I got to adjust it and be more
Right.
successful than what I was doing.
For sure. And what I would say is that success isn't the end of the road.
Right.
Success is the road.
Mm-hmm.
We're always in a state of becoming. And so like for me, I'll never reach it.
Right.
I'll never reach it. And I'm okay with that. And I think what that helps me with and what helps my clients with is that, most perfectionists, because I work with a lot of people who are perfectionists.
Mm-hmm.
They lack confidence, or they might be insecure. They want to be a great leader. They have a good heart. They want to be phenomenal at whatever it is they do.
Right.
Their heart centered, but how they're going about things is destroying them, and it's destroying the people around them,
Right.
and limiting their ceiling. And when you stop looking at success as a destination,
Mm-hmm.
when you quit chasing things and start chasing becoming, you'll still dip your toes in Pity City,
Mm-hmm.
but it won't be an extended stay
Right.
because it's expected.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I tell a story about, so last year I was taking my oldest, he was a college baseball player, played at Benedictine University in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
And he was going to be transferring there. And so we were driving all his stuff down there in August. And we're driving, and our goal was, I left after school that day.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal was just to go as far as we could until it went dark. I didn't want to be driving in the middle of Nevada in the dark. So we'd go as far as we could. Then we'd finish the next day. Well, man, we were killing it. And we get to like some small town. I think might have been Wells, or anyway, get somewhere in Nevada. I'm like, man, we are crushing it. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
And he's like, ah. So that was a horrible mistake. we start going to the next one, and it's like pitch black.
Yeah.
I mean, pitch black. Nothing, no lights,
Right.
nothing, and before you know it, there's these crazy birds darting at my car. I smoke 5 birds.
Wow.
Not an exaggeration. Like some people might, I smoked 5 birds, and I almost nailed another 2. They were flying at my windshield. They were coming from the sides. I have a dent on the side of my car.
Yeah.
Crazy. And they were coming from nowhere. It's pitch black. Then out of nowhere, a big herd of elk.
Oh my God.
It's just like the craziest drive ever. And I'm just white knuckling this thing. And we finally make it to the next town. And that was a whole nother story you don't want to hear. But we finally made it. But my point to my story when I always talk about this is, my focus became the next 200 feet.
Right.
Because that's as far as my lights can see. I can only see for the next 200 feet. And I was literally just focusing on the next 200 feet, nothing beyond that. And so I kind of tie that to some of the stuff we're talking about in terms of success road and becoming and being a perfectionist and being so hard on ourselves because we got these, our lens are not in the right place.
Right.
We got to dominate where our feet are. We got to quit undervaluing today and overestimating tomorrow and dominate right here.
Yeah.
And so that's I don't know how I got going on that, but you got me fired up.
Yeah, no, it's
So there
great.
you
Like,
go.
it's funny you were talking about driving through Arizona, and I've been on that before. Like, you're in the middle of nowhere, and all there is sagebrush. So it's like no lights, no nothing.
Nothing.
But yeah, it's crazy because that's what it is. It's like you have to put the next point in front of you. I think it was Chad. I think his name's Chad Wright. He's a ultra marathon runner. Was talking about like, and I'm talking like 300 milers, like not
Crazy.
These, yeah, you're crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I would never. I don't even want to run 10 feet half the time. And you're doing this, and he's like,
Yeah.
he goes, you get in your head and you start to think, I'm never going to finish this, and then you think about it, like he's climbing these mountains and things like that, and he's like, next tree,
Yeah.
next tree, next tree, and
Nice.
just keep challenging yourself
Yeah.
to get to that next one. And if you can break it down just a little bit, you're going to get there.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that is, just like we were talking about, you get there, you get to the end. What's he do? Signs up for the next one.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like, you have to continue to challenge yourself to be better every
Right.
single day. And I think that that's the biggest thing. But like you were talking about, the pity city thing is a tough thing to overcome, right? Like, 'cause
Yeah. When you're sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, like, that's like, it is just like you said, once you get into it, it's hard to get out of if you don't understand. Like, I've struggled with some stuff, like with my home, right? Like with my business that I'm starting, like, yeah, we're not as busy as we thought we were going to be, or this didn't come through today. But if I sat there and thought about all the things that weren't happening, I would never make the things that were happening happen without doing that, without trying to stay positive about it.
For sure. You listened to, well, a couple things there. You know, the mountain thing, or the running thing, the marathon thing. I have a person I had on my podcast. Her name's Jen Drummond. She's an absolute fantastic beast. And she has climbed Everest. She has a bunch of world records in climbing for women. And
She's not the one that like had kids and then after that did the. I'm pretty sure I listened to this one, but like she did this after she got her kids out of the house. Right?
yeah,
Yep.
well, no, her kids were still in the house.
Okay.
She has a funny story. Well, her story is she hadn't climbed anything. She had never even gone camping.
Okay.
And she was sitting there helping her kid do math one day and just trying to be a good mom. And gosh, I'm going to mess up the story.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
I've listened to it, and I'm trying to remember what the context of it is.
I remember the funny punchline, but I can't. There's a funny story behind it where the kid essentially says, well, and mom's like, well, and then the kid's like, why don't you climb Mount Everest? And she's like, anyway, she decides she's going to start climbing, and there's a mountain on a different continent. It's called Ama de Blanc. And kid looks at the mom, Jen, and says, why would you ever hike a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde?
Wow.
And it was Ama de Blanc, but he heard I'm a Dumb Blonde.
Yeah.
And anyway, it all led to Everest.
Uh-huh.
And when I think about people climbing Mount Everest, I've heard countless stories where they do all that climbing. I mean, they're passing dead carcass.
Right.
They're literally passing people who have died, things that have died, and it's a tough hike. They have multiple day camps, and
Right.
they get all the way up there, and they spend 15 minutes at the top
Turn
before
around, go
coming back down.
Yep.
It wasn't just getting to the top; it was the journey.
Yeah.
And I just think, with what I do, some of the biggest challenges is just installing habits in the way we think that allows us to focus more on everything that happens in the journey, the process,
Yeah.
how we serve others, how we serve ourselves. It's not rocket science stuff, but if you look at my life, your listeners' lives, I would invite them all to think about this. Like, we budget everything else in life. We audit if we're doing things right. We have audits. We audit, at the end of the month. You look at your bank account.
Right.
We all have audits. We all budget things. But how many of us are budgeting our thoughts?
Right.
How many of us are auditing our habits? Like, these are the things that lead us to being fantastic. This is your habits. You are who your habits say you are.
Right.
But how many of us are like auditing our habits? Not many. Like, I can look at my schedule or your schedule, and I can tell you exactly who you are probably.
Right.
Like, you say this is who you are. You say this is what you want to become. You're saying these things. But if I go look back at your last 30 days or maybe your last quarter or your last 12 months,
I've got no time.
Exactly.
I've got no time.
Exactly. Yeah.
While I'm sitting there for 2 hours watching a TV show.
Right. And to me, like, that's okay, but don't tell me
You don't
this
have
is, don't tell me you don't have time, because winners make time.
Right.
We don't catch breaks, we make breaks. And
it's got to be intentional too. Like I look at, like, I think about my calendar. Like I live my life by my calendar, right? Like what's going on in my calendar. And if there's nothing on my calendar, then nothing's happening. So I started putting stuff on my calendar. I need to do this at 7:30. I need to do this at 8 o'clock. I need to do, if there's nothing there, like if I get busy, I get busy, but I'm giving myself that time to know that this is what I need to do.
Yep.
And no one else sees it. 'Cause like the calendar's on your phone. Like you can pick what account it's coming from. So like this podcast is on one account so that everyone needs to see it can see it.
Right.
And then my blue calendar has the things that I got to do.
Right.
And so it's, you just have to become intentional with your time.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think even fun by design, like I even put fun in my calendar. It's not just all to do stuff.
Right.
It's not all just like business stuff. It's, I'm going to put in I'm going out with my wife tomorrow. That's in my calendar.
Yeah.
If I don't know how you are, and I don't know how most of your listeners are, but if you don't put some of that stuff in your calendar, you don't end up ever going out.
Right.
And if you don't play together, generally you don't stay together.
Yep.
And I learned that from someone else too. I learned that from another coach. I mean, they did that. I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And so I've started putting date night in my calendar. I'm going out after we're done here today. I'm going out. I'm taking my niece out for a little dinner and Wahoo's date.
Oh, nice.
Because I want to be a family man.
Yeah.
I want to be the fun uncle.
Yeah.
I say I want to be those things, but if I look in my calendar and I'm never doing anything, I'm never reaching out to my friends. I say relationships are important to me.
Right.
You know, how many of us all say that relationships are important to us, but how many people on our contact list do we never reach out to?
Yeah.
Like, they're in your contact list, but you can't on Monday morning just send out a text saying, hey, was thinking of you today. Have a great day. Make it a great day.
That's something that you have taught me. Like, I swear, like every time I think about certain things that, like, your TikToks come up when I need them. You send me a text message when I need it. And I feel like I need to return the favor because, like, you make me feel better about what I'm doing when you send me, like, I don't know. And it's random. Like, I don't know if you got a list of these people that you send it to, but it's like random. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, dude, I just want to make sure that I hope you're doing well and I hope your family's good. And it's like, man, it just makes me smile that someone has just reached out. And I think that I tell people that a lot on the podcast too. It's like, you never know where that person is at. You never know what they're doing. And if you're going to say that you're this and this, it's like, that's what kind of got me to the point where I thought, man, this guy just lives it. This guy does it. He exudes it. Like, you see it. It permeates.
Yeah. I think you got to embody these things.
Yeah.
You can't just, they're sexy on paper,
Right.
but you got to embody them. And like I said, relationships really are important to me. Friendships are important to me. My family is important to me. So obviously I have routines. I mean, I don't have a set calendar of who I'm going to contact every Monday morning, but I have a routine 3 days a week before I stroll in to the building. I park my car and I shoot out texts to people. And it takes me probably 25 seconds a text. Let's just round it up to 30. If I just do 3, I do 5 on Monday mornings. But the other 2 days, I might send out 3. Like, it's not an exact science, but 90 seconds. It took me 90 seconds to make someone else feel great about their day and start their day right and just keep connected. To do something I already said was important to me.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't communicate, bad things happen.
Yeah.
I have my middle younger brother does really well for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me one day and he said, Brad, you know what the number one deal killer in business is? And I was trying to think of all these sexy answers and whatever. And I was like, what? And he said, communication. The number one deal killer in business is communication. If you don't follow up or if you don't talk, bad things happen. And you think about all of our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you and I wouldn't necessarily think that, but we would grow apart if we never talked.
Yeah.
But you look at coach player,
Mm-hmm.
you look at boss employee, you look at deal to deal, whatever. You know, when no one talks, there could be nothing wrong.
Right.
Maybe there's nothing to it, but in that gap, it's usually negative stuff that people fill it with.
Exactly.
People fill it with negative. Like,
What did I do wrong?
Exactly.
What do I have to?
exactly.
I've 100% been there. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm killing it. I'm doing $2 million a year, but I never
Yeah.
hear from anyone
Yeah.
that I'm doing a good job, or I didn't, like, even some conversation about, hey, you should have done this way. At least you know that you're like getting attention paid
Yeah.
to you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I think that should be important to everybody. And it only, like I said, it takes me 90 seconds,
Yeah.
90 seconds, 2 of those days. And the other one, what, like 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not long, right?
No,
It's just
like a, hey man, I was thinking about you. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what it is. And like, it's funny how when I get them from you, I'm just sitting there going, man, this guy, he's like, he's either psychic or something. He just knows when to send it. But like, you could sit there and just like you said, like it could be, and I wouldn't feel that way about you not talking to me, but like same thing, like at work, at team or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like when my coach was pissed at me, when I wasn't playing, when I, like I thought I wasn't doing as good as I probably wasn't. And they weren't telling me that.
Yeah.
And I would way rather, like, and you've coached different kids that are this way too, but I was the kid that I didn't get something, you had to yell at me.
Yeah.
You figure that out, like who your employees are, who your players are, who they are, and how you motivate them. And that's that's going to lead me to my next question with you though, because you coach other people, and how do you determine, like, what is it? I mean, obviously it's got to be something that you have experience in, but like you were coaching, you said what, 11-year-old kids, and you're coaching, adults, and you're coaching, like, you have to treat them all different, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm really fortunate in that I have a kiddo on the autism spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and he's taught me so much. I thought I had I was a successful coach.
Mm-hmm.
We were crushing it. I felt with our older son, and confident guy, feel like everything's going good.
Yeah.
And then our 3-year-old gets diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. And at the time, I think I've told you this story before, I was so lost. Brief minute there, I was the slowest walk. When I remember when he was diagnosed in like the doctor's office, I don't remember almost anything after she's saying, and it was like no brainer. She had talked for 5 minutes and I cut her off and I said, hey, I just got to know, is he on the spectrum? And it's like I barely finished my sentence, and she says, quote, oh yeah. And she said like something like another, whatever, that finished her sentence. And I don't remember hardly anything after that.
Yeah.
And the walk was slow. And, it was a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. But when you're going 25 miles an hour all the way home, it takes a little bit longer.
Right.
And I sat in my driveway, and I had tears going,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But then I said to myself after about 15 minutes in my driveway, this is ridiculous. What have I got to do in the next 15 years to give him the best life possible?
Right.
What have I got to do? And that became a defining moment for me, because I really became a guy that was in the state of becoming.
Mm-hmm.
I lived it. I became a growth-minded guy. I started to understand as a parent of a kid on the spectrum that, like, he wasn't like everybody else. I'm not saying bad, because we all have our own typical, right?
Right.
He's, by society's definition, non-typical, but we all have our own typical.
That's what's tough for me about the spectrum. Like, I believe that there are kids who have, that the things that they have going on, but like it's become so big that everyone's on the spectrum, right?
Seriously.
And that's the hard part for me is like, when do you decide what, needs intervention and what doesn't? Because now everyone needs intervention, right?
That's such a good point, because it is really different. And while it would be so much easier if everyone could be coached and taught and led the same way,
Right.
it's not possible.
Yeah.
Especially, it makes our jobs more difficult as the people maybe at the top or the people being looked upon. But to get results, you got to meet them where they're at.
Right.
Like, and what works today may not work. What I learned with my kiddos, what works today may not even work a month from now. So you've always got to be flexible. You got to have some agility in what it is you do. And yeah, some people need to be lit up and
Right.
ride them like Seabiscuit.
Yeah.
And some people, you need to give them space.
Yeah.
Some people just need a hug.
Yeah.
Some people just need some, whatever. It's totally different. It makes it more difficult. But if you truly are about winning and being elite and connection and making people feel like they belong and like they're accepted, like things that everyone's looking for, you can't be stubborn about it.
Right.
And so there's not a one size fits all. I've found the best way to learn how to do that is to be a great listener. Like, be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Yeah.
Like, be aggressively patient. Just listen, people, and learn how to ask the right questions. The world's run by great questions.
Yeah.
If you'd just ask questions and learn how to frame your questions, and then just be slow to speak, they'll tell you everything you need to know, and you're going to learn a lot. Now, some people tell you what they think they need, and they don't need that. So you also got to figure that out.
Yeah.
But my first meeting with people is always me just asking questions and just learning, and then gathering intel, and then forming a plan.
Yeah.
How could you possibly have a plan? You don't even know this person yet.
Right.
So
you got to treat them all different. You got to figure out exactly what they need. And it's not always exactly what they need, and that may always change, right?
yeah, well, yeah. And they might be a totally different kind of fantastic beast.
Right.
Having been with you or me or whoever for X amount of months, like, they may be a completely different kind of animal, and you can have a different kind of relationship.
Right.
Yeah, people evolve.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. And that's, when I stop, the reason why I do this, like, I feel like this is like, I'm getting more out of this probably than anyone else is. Like, that's the thing. It's like having that conversation,
Yeah.
sitting down and getting that intel for yourself is great, but just sharing it with other people and not holding it close to you, because I think that's the biggest thing is we're all not willing to give it out, because if we do, then it's like coaching. Okay. So we were talking about Brulot, who, I'm name dropping, whatever. Anyway, we were talking about him and how he's from your coaching tree and how you're kind of from Jake's coaching tree, and everyone's kind of from the same place, but everyone that I've ever been around that coached always wants to see the people that they have below them succeed and do their own thing. And I could only imagine that look on your face when you found out that he got the job at Capitol, And I could imagine the look at his face when he found out that even though it was Marsing, that was kind of a tiny little school, but a guy who he helped 1 year got a head coaching.
They might not even be competition, but like, I feel like when the people around me are better, I become better.
Right.
Because when they become better, I can't become the best version.
Yep.
Like, competition makes us better.
Yeah.
I want competition. I want a little tough. I feel like if I don't have a little suck in my week, it may not have been a great week.
Right.
Like, I spread the wealth. Like,
It's crazy.
why would you not want other people to be happy?
Yeah. I mean, that challenge, like, if you can kind of get it all into the same, like, thought process, like, and this is what, one of the things that I really think about, I'd listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger, love him or hate him. There's some people who don't like him, but like, I've been listening to him. He's been in the news a lot lately, and people are asking him to bash people, and I'm sitting there going, like, he won't do it. It's like, perfect. I'm like, this is crazy. But he has this book out called Be Useful, and he talks about lifting weights and challenging yourself. And what are you doing? You're picking that thing up and you're putting it back down, but you're doing it as many times as you can until you fail. And then when you fail, you go back the next day and you do it again, over and over again. And it's amazing to me that people don't want to challenge. And that's the thing, you know, being cut from the same type of cloth, but like that challenge or whatever it is, you know, me coaching for you, you're the head coach. I want your job, or I want a job like your job. And you're challenging me to be better. And then you're like looking at, oh man, well, he's doing this. I got to do this. I got to do more. I got to do, like, it's just that adrenaline rush of just wanting to be better every single day.
Well, oddly, like a lot of people that are worried about the people around them being better than them or showing them up, that fear and insecurity is what's making you weak.
Right.
It's not other stuff that's making you look weak. What's making you look weak is your fear. And I will tell you what, regret will outlast fear.
Yeah.
And you're going to have regret. You're going to have regret at some point, and it's going to put you in pity city for an extended stay because of missed opportunities, because of your fear and your insecurities and your broken relationships because of these things. So, yeah, like I think it circles back to, if you want to be confident, well, what does a confident person do? Start creating habits that a confident person would do. If you want to be more compassionate or more loving, or if you want to be a millionaire or whatever it is that you want to do, what are some of the habits that lead you to become that kind of person? What do you need to embody every day so that you can compound those things and become who it is you say you want to become?
Right.
But yeah.
Yep. Without action, nothing ever happens. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
So, man, it's been awesome. And I guarantee you we could sit here and talk for another 2 hours if we wanted to. But I appreciate you coming out here and sitting down with us. And if people like what they heard from you today and they want to hit you up for some coaching or anything like that, where can they find you? What can they do to make that happen?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty active on Instagram, best_selfview. If you want to reach out to me via email, it's brad@braddaltongroup.com. I take on 6 new clients the first Tuesday of every month. I won't take on any more than one team every 2 months. So space is always limited, but if they're interested in any of that stuff, they want to think a little bit better, if they want to help their people they care about the most think a little bit better, win their days a little bit more.
Podcast is great too. You're going through the letters of the alphabet, which to me it's like that. They're little short, quick things, but they're like something to me. It's like, oh man, Brad's got a few out here. I'm going to hit these, and I get like 3 or 4 of them in a row, and I'm like, gold.
Yeah, Best Self Podcast. That's an acronym too for those of your listeners that are looking for it. It's B.E.S. It's found on all the major platforms. Yeah, I've enjoyed that. We got W coming out next week.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, so.
We'll look forward to it, man.
You bet, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out here. Just remember that this is brought to you by Shade Bros. If you need any window coverings here in the Treasure Valley, please give me a call, 208-99-SHADE. We'll get you set up, free estimate, and get you taken care of. And until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.